What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Dr. Bo Knows Nothing show. Today we have former NFL linebacker Lofa Tatupu on board. Pretty cool story of just kind of where he came from and what he's doing now in the cannabis and CBD industry, and ultimately how it's changed his life. Quote from him, saved his life. So super happy to share this with everybody. I hope you can gather something to take mental, physical, and spiritual health back into your own hands. Without further ado, let's get into the show.
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess I'll just start from the beginning,
Yeah, because you went to Maine out of high school, right?
I did.
Yeah.
So my dad, little background, my dad played football in the NFL for 14 years. So I'm second generation NFL.
Yeah.
I was lucky to play 6 years, but before that, all growing up, sports, huge part of my life. Football, most importantly, I just loved it.
Yeah.
But basketball, baseball, all the sports, played all of them growing up. And just fell in love with football from the first time I played it. And I wasn't very good. I'm telling you, Doc. So back then they had, weight limits. It wasn't age.
Yeah, that was us too.
These days, you're 10 years old, you play 10-year-olds. I was 10 years old. I was 7 years old my first year playing like 10 and 11-year-olds.
Did they put you like at lineman or something your first time? Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I barely played, because back then, there was no participation trophies. They're like, hey, if you aren't very good, you're not going to play. And so I was playing with kids. They were grown ass men to me. I'm 7 years old, 8 years old.
That's a big difference.
Huge difference in maturity, in muscle, everything, and so, I was in there getting like my 10 plays a game and then back on the bench. And I don't know what it was about it, because I was getting my ass kicked, but I just loved it. And it was probably because I watched my dad play for so long. And so,
true. And so at this point, you're 7 playing junior football. Where is he at? Is he still playing?
He had just retired. Let me see, a year before. So he was able to help coach too.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Because that would be like 89, 90.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right on.
And so, and so, I didn't realize, I knew I wasn't very good, but here you got everybody else like, oh, Tatupu's kid sucks. Like, because, he's a professional football player, and they're expecting big things out of me. And I didn't realize how big that age gap was. And so I just played with the kids that were 3 and 4 years older than me since I was 7 until I was a freshman in high school. And then that's when it got fun.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have to worry about being too heavy anymore.
That was really the first time you got to play your own age kids, was high school.
I played 8th grade. I starved myself, which is very unhealthy. Literally had to starve myself, me and these other 2 kids. They were twins. They were just big kids too. And so we had to starve ourselves to get to 145, 150. And and so we were running miles with trash bags on us before the game to sweat. Yeah. And we'd come to the scale after every mile, and they're like, all right, you need 1 more pound. Go do another mile. This is just to play in the game.
Can you imagine today seeing coaches do that to kids? Like,
oh, the coach would be fired. The parents, I mean, everything, right?
That's crazy.
And so that was just to play. But then, I finally, high school, I got to, play with kids my age. And it was so much. I fell in love with the game even more, because I was like, oh, this is easy. Like, I've been getting my ass kicked for 7 years. Now I get to, I get to face the same age kids.
What positions did they put you in? Like, now that you're kind of coming into your own and actually finding your skill set, where did you play in high school before moving on?
I was all over the place, but I ended up settling in after freshman year. So like sophomore, junior, senior year, when I was playing varsity, I was linebacker all 3 years, but I was quarterback the last 2.
Okay.
So one of my best friends, he went to, he had hoop dreams. He went to go play basketball, and they just stuck me at quarterback. They're like, and I think it was really, I don't even think it was because I was the best athlete. I think it was because I was the only one who could remember all the plays.
Dude, there might be some job openings in the league right now for you at QB.
Oh, shit. Yeah, it's looking pretty brutal out there. And that's another time for another discussion, but I think it's a very, very overrated position. in my opinion.
It's definitely an overpaid position, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, when I was playing, I didn't get paid, so I don't. but okay, so I'm second generation. My dad played in the NFL. I was going to go on to play in the NFL. No one knew it at the time, but I'm telling everybody this since I was 7 years old, and they're just like, this kid's crazy. And I know it seemed crazy, but I just believed, and I loved what I was doing, and so I wasn't gonna take no for an answer. And then scouting, or recruiting comes around, and I don't have any offers. This is after I finished my junior year. You usually get an offer or two. Senior year, you start getting a ton. I didn't. We are just finished the season. I'm into basketball now, and there's a couple coaches coming around, from like smaller schools, 1AA, Division II, and but not one Division I college came around. And then we got to like January, February, and it picked up right before signing day. And 3 Division I colleges, UConn, Rutgers, and Temple, they hit me up and they were like, "Hey, we saw your tape. We want to, offer you a scholarship." And I was like, "All right, well, what defense do you run? This, and that." They're like, "Oh, we want you to play quarterback." And I was like, "Nah." It was my first business decision of my life, because I took a look around the landscape in the NFL. I didn't see any 5'11" quarterbacks. I didn't see one. Seneca Wallace wasn't there yet. Doug Flutie was.
Drew Brees.
Drew Brees wasn't there yet. He was still in college. But Doug Flutie was in the CFL coming back to the NFL at the time. So like there was no, I was just like, nah, my dream is the NFL. If I'm going to get there, I see a ton of 5'11" linebackers. I'm going to go play linebacker. And University of Maine was the only school to offer me a linebacker.
So you, Pro Bowl linebacker, all pro, future, Super Bowl captain, right?
Yeah.
Didn't have a single Division I for linebacker, but you had 3 for quarterback.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It's wild, right?
That is wild, man.
So, I was pissed off. I went through all the emotions, grief, anger, everything you can imagine. And then finally I just got pissed off, and I was like, all right, well, I'm going to go up there. I'm going to show everybody. And because everybody, they're writing me off at this point. They're like, well, he was a good high school player. He'll be a good.
I mean, and there's a lot of those every year, right?
Oh, yeah, it happens all the time. But I had a plan. I was like, hey, well, my plan at that point, I was like, I can go to junior college or I can take the only scholarship. And I was like, I'd rather go to the university than junior college right now.
Yeah.
And so I went up to Maine, and then I was like 3rd on the depth chart out of camp. And I was like, shit, you really aren't shit at football, man. Talking to myself. I just had to have an honest talk in the mirror with like, all right, man, you thought you were going Division I, and now you're at 1AA and you're not even starting as a freshman. Like, who do you think you are? And so for whatever reason, I think it was a necessary step in the process of me ultimately reaching my dreams and going to the NFL. And so I got humbled, went there. Halfway through the season, I get a couple chances to start because of injury, and I take off. I led the team in tackles, sacks, interceptions. I was 1 or 2 in like every statistical category, and in only 6 games. And
was that the way it was in high school too? Like, were you kind of feeling like, I have these stats, I have the skills compared to these other guys? And
I couldn't believe that I wasn't getting recruited. I was like, how do they not see, what I'm doing on the field? And but a lot of these scouts and recruiters, they fall in love with height, weight, speed, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, you still got to play football. And so, after that season, I sat down, kind of reassessed my goals. I was like, look, there's not a lot of guys coming from 1AA and making it to the NFL. So if I transfer now, and I don't care where, just any major school, so to show them that the NFL that I can hang with any competition, then I'll have a chance at least. My dream, I don't die wondering. It's a big thing with me, is like, I'm not going to die wondering. I know. I went for it. I took my shot.
It's like, come back with your shield or on it, right?
On it, yeah, or on it, yeah. And so, put out all these tapes, sent them everywhere, and only 2 schools actually came back. Like, I'm talking, I sent tapes everywhere. Yeah. And Oregon and USC were the only 2 schools that came back. Like, hey, we're interested. Yeah. And so I was supposed to go to Oregon, and before I took my trip up there to sign my letter of intent, my dad sent the tape to USC, unbeknownst to me, because that's where he went to college, and he knew I didn't want to go there, but he was like, hey, just got to get your foot in the door, and then you do whatever you know.
Right.
And so when he sent that there, we were visiting my mom. I was saying hi to my mom. She lived in San Diego, and then I told her I'm going up to Oregon, and then she knew too, though, that there was a tape sent to SC, and so they surprised me, and we stopped by the SC campus and met Pete and all those guys, all the staff.
Yeah.
And Pete found out that I had a scholarship up to Oregon. He was like, and Oregon was at top. They had Joey Harrington, all those receivers. They were number one in the pack. They were going to, the BCS bowls, all that.
They were a big deal that time. I mean, they've been a big deal, but that was a good team.
They were on the map. They were number one in the conference. And so, I think in Pete's mind, he's like, well, what if I lose this kid to them and I have to see him every year?
Right.
That's going to be a problem. So there was 2 scholarship offers left. I got one of them. The other one went to my good friend Frosty Rucker, who played 14 years in the NFL. We were 2 afterthoughts coming into that.
Right.
And
that's crazy.
And that's you saw it happen. So
yeah. So you go to USC. What's it like kind of being not that you ever stopped fighting for what you had to get, but you go from like overlooked, not recruited, offered something you didn't really want, chased it, and then now you're at, essentially, in what we come to find out, being literally the top of the college football game as you guys win the national championship. But what was that shift like from Maine, right, D1, 2A, to like everybody in the country watching football is watching you guys now? Is there unseen, untalked about like battles and struggles and pressures, or was it just like awesome and better because it was a great facility and a great place to be?
Perspective's everything. And for me, I never, and I swear to you, I've never stressed on the field.
Yeah.
That's how in control I felt of my preparation, everything that went into it, mentally, physically, emotionally. I never panicked on the field. I was just like, this is where I'm supposed to be. It was a big jump, but we're talking about going from playing in front of 10,000 was the biggest crowd I played in front of. And then the first start I got was like, I think it was like 75,000 down in Auburn. Yeah. Yeah. And so,
and against you, not for you, right?
Like, 65 of them. We had like a little strip of 10,000 in the end zone. But, and it's, it was eye opening, but, I felt like I belong. I kind of felt like, and this is a theme you'll kind of see as we go along, but like, leaving Maine, I kind of outgrew that space. Mm-hmm. It's like, look, it was an amazing time, a chapter in my life I'll never forget, but I need the next challenge. And so then I went to SC, and there we had one of the most incredible runs. I was 26 games. We went 25-1. And the only loss we had was triple overtime to Aaron Rodgers, who's, pretty damn good.
He's fairly good. Yeah.
Yeah. He's still playing and at a high level.
Right. That's what's crazy too, is we're sitting here talking about this story and he's like watching film right now.
He's still doing it.
Yeah. That's crazy. There's Jaromir Jagr, the hockey player.
Yeah.
Dude, he just turned, 60, I believe. And he just scored a goal. He's in Europe or Russia playing pro hockey. He just got a goal. Like, anyway, crazy.
That's wild.
That's insane. Yeah. So football is obviously, I don't want to say all of your life, but if there's any business professional part, it is consumed by now football. And now obviously it's looking to be a career very close, and that dream's coming true. So we go to NFL, you get your stuff. And I know you probably would have loved to been able to physically do a little bit more, but again, blessed by 6 years is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
So not that, if there's stuff you want to talk about for football, I want to, but really I'm so kind of intrigued by the post-professional athlete career. And, you see so many stories of negative and positive, and there's a lot I think we never really hear of, good and bad.
Mhm.
What was it after sports? Was there like a moment where you're like, okay, I feel like maybe there's nothing going on. I need that challenge. Like you mentioned, I need to do something. What was it that got you to where you're at now, or at least like what started that little shift in getting something going after football?
I got to say it was getting back into football because I left all the, it's well documented, all the injuries,
Right.
10 surgeries, 15 plus concussions in 6 years.
And you broke an opponent's helmet via tackle. That was pretty epic.
Might have been mine too. I don't know. Can't
Yeah,
remember.
there was pieces flying. That's all we know.
But, you know, I didn't realize the toll it took on I know physically, everybody sees all the surgeries and the concussions, but the mental and the emotional trauma, I mean, that, and how do you heal that? That was what I was dealing with after ball,
Right.
was I just didn't feel like myself. I felt like, always in a fog, um, just a number of issues. And I had ballooned up to like 275 pounds, 280. I played at 240. I'm 240 right now. I'm back in my
Yeah.
playing weight, and I've held this weight for 7 years. But what started the business entrepreneurial spirit was really getting back into coaching. John Schneider and Pete Carroll called me and they asked me to come out and coach. And, I was like, well, all I'm doing is watching football anyways. I might,
Right.
might as well go
might as well
coach.
get paid for it and have some fun, right?
Might as well go coach two of the best linebackers to ever play the game, and Bobby Wagner and KJ Wright.
I don't. I think people knew they were good, but I don't think they realized how good they were until they were gone.
Unbelievable. And even better human beings, which is awesome to like actually get to know them and see.
Right.
But yeah, so I came back, I'm in horrible health. And at the same time, everything happens for a reason. I always believed it. And, medical cannabis was coming, on board. It was going over, switched from medical to recreational.
And this is like 2014 or
14,
so?
15. It was the end of 14, which is when I think it got passed. And then 15, I was in the office, like as soon as they lost that last game, I was in the office that February. And then we were at the combine the next week. It was just, man, it was nonstop. But me and a business partner bought a bunch of property with some investors, one a warehouse and then another a farm in the green zone, designated in the green zone. And so we were just in it on the real estate side. And then, he came to me and he's like, dude, I don't know if we're going to make it with who we got running the operations right now. And I was like, well, I don't know anything about growing cannabis. I just know I enjoy it.
Yeah. I'm on the back end of things. I don't know how the front works.
Yeah. Right. And so, he was like, hey man, well, we could either lose our money and everybody else's, because it's not a great time to sell, or we could step in and do this. And I was like, all right, well, this is right after the 15. So I had one more year contractually with the Hawks, and I wanted to honor that. So I was like, it's going to have to be in 17. He was like, all right, no problem. And so he held it down for all the 16, him and his brother. And then I joined them January of 17, just full tilt. I mean, two former football linebackers, just growing cannabis, cutting it down, hanging it, drying it, packaging it, coming up with a brand. I'm just full, like what is happening right now.
Right.
And
so at this point, this is just strictly recreational cannabis production, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And legal, I-502 legal recreational cannabis in Washington. And so, we came up with a brand. It's called 1937 Farms, kind of, to educate about the prohibition of cannabis and how long it's been illegal for. It's, but it was just, man, you want to talk, like they say, you can go to business school or you can just start a business.
I learned more in 2 months than I did in 3 years of school.
I mean, with everything, I'm sure operationally in the textbook, it's like, oh, well, the book says do this. Sometimes there's going to be some problems that the book doesn't have an answer to. And
life is allowed to do what it does, and it doesn't always have a book.
Man, you better get creative. You better, be super positive and energetic, and just, not sweat the little things. Like, it's just, it really taught me more so about myself than football did. Because for 17 years, I was just, okay, I'm going to play football. I'm going to play football. And then I was blessed, from the time I was 7 until I was 31, I got to play it, and it's just, but then when that ends, that's what I think, when that ends for, I think football in particular, you don't see a ton of basketball, baseball, hockey, because you can go play in a rec league after. I'm not saying everybody wants to, but I can't I can't wrangle up 22 guys and be like, hey, put the pads on, boys. I'm going to put 60 minutes on the clock and we're going until either someone quits or someone gets hurt.
Yeah, probably the latter, but yeah.
But with football, when it's over, when that last snap you take is gone, it's over. There's no going back, man.
And think about this. Yeah, you played from age 7 to 31, but let's be honest, like you probably didn't come into somewhat of adult frame, skill set, speed, and size and all that until really sophomore year, maybe junior year. Like, not that you don't have skills, but a lot of kids only get 1 or 2 years of actual good prime physical football because they're not going to play college. And someone pointed that out to me the other day, and it's just like, you're right, you can't just play pickup football.
Yeah.
And so even the length you got, it's such a short window of your physical skilled life it's like, what do I now do with all these skills that I've honed in?
Yeah,
I can't even use them for fun anymore, hardly. So
I can barely 280 pounds, man. I can barely move.
Yeah, that's a big change too. Like that happened in what, a year, give or take?
It took about 2 years. So
2 years, yeah.
After that first year of retirement, when it's over. It's over. You've said it's over, and you make your peace. Like there's a little bit of okay, I can take a breath now. Like I chased this fucking thing for 23 years.
Yeah.
And
a long time.
And I did all right, and in every competitor's mind, they wish they could have done a little better. But it's just, you never know how long you have to play, and so never took it for granted. Enjoyed every moment of it. But then, so like we were saying, coaching really got me back into this mindset of competing and all that. And then, so I took that competitiveness with my partner, Matt McCoy, shout out to my brother. And we went into the cannabis industry where it was a battle because it's a new industry, an emerging industry with so many unknowns, so many rules and regulations. It was wild. And
you didn't really have confidence things were going to stay regulated the same way. People are fighting this and that and trying to overturn and
it
crazy.
It was so new. It was in its infancy where it's like, they could just reverse everything. And that's what people were afraid of. Right. And so, luckily they didn't, they saw how much good it's doing. And while I was in the industry, like I said, I was overweight, just going through the motions in life. It was sad, man. Depression, anxiety, everything you can go through, on top of the aches and pains that physically I had to endure.
Yeah.
And I kept hearing about CBD. And
because it wasn't, from what I remember, I didn't hear anything about it when the recreational wave first kicked in. It wasn't.
No one cared.
Super pop. Yeah. They were like, cool, give me the good stuff.
They're like, wait, it doesn't get you high? No. Why would you use it? Because it's an anti-inflammatory, neuroprotectant, good for gut health, good for immune, like all these benefits. And they're just like, nah, I want THC. And it's like, all right. And so, but in most cases, they're getting, little bits of the CBD in the flower they smoke or whatever they, choose to, however they choose to consume. But I just kept hearing it over and over and over from 17, 18. And so I just started, I was like, it sounds too good to be true. Because the stories I heard from it, they ranged from everything from helping someone with dementia to Crohn's disease to, it was, there's so many. Because I've been doing this for 6 years now. Yeah, it's going on 6 years. Since I've been in 7 years since I've been in 1937 farms, and Zone In's been around for 3 years. And so I was like, all right, I've heard all these anecdotal stories. I got to check it out. So I go to the store and I probably had like 1,000 or, so dollars worth of just, I would give me all the CBD with the lowest to no THC you got. And, they're all looking at me like, why would you want that? Because, a bunch of them consume THC. They love the THC. I get it.
Right.
But I was like, look, no, I don't want to be high. I just want to be happy.
Yes. There shouldn't be that hard of a request, right?
So they loaded up, dude. And I got all these products from all these different companies. I'm reading labels for the first time in my life because I'm like, all right, I heard it's going to help, my mind and body, my knees, my back, my, everything, my brain, most importantly.
Right. All the things that are suffering after 20 years of football, 23 years of football.
Yeah. And life.
Yeah,
life is just stressful too.
Yeah.
So I, I'm journaling, I'm writing it down because I want to be in the moment and be like, all right, do I actually feel any different? And I must have went like 2 or 3 months with shitty products. Like I'm not going to say any brands, but I'm just saying, like,
sure.
reading the back, they just had the isolated form of the compound. So that's just the one compound, right? And CBD is just one of the many compounds in the plant. When they say whole plant extract, that's like extracting just one compound and like, okay, this is what you take. And because science is so big on eliminating variables, they're never going to say one does this, one does that, other than THC gets you high. They will. I mean, I think everybody agrees on that one. That single compound will get you high, which ain't a bad thing. But so I'm like, oh, this is CBD isolate. Okay, well, I've heard and read there's some people swear by it. They've had great, results with it. I didn't feel anything. No matter, I mean, I took like a whole box of handful of those things one time. I was like, I'm going to feel something. And so nothing. And so then I went to the next one, and then I came across one that was a full whole plant extract and full spectrum oil is what it's called. And I'm telling you, within a day or two, I was like the limitless pill. I'm like, my fucking eyes opened in a way they never had before. Right. I was like, holy shit. Like, I feel great.
Yeah. Just finally different.
It was, so I had that moment of clarity. Like, I woke up, I'm a horrible sleeper. So, and I had the sleep apnea machine before I got into as I was getting into the industry, and I used it religiously and it helped a little bit. Right. But when I took one of those capsules or 2 of those capsules with the mask I was like 5 hours later, 6 hours, because, they say studies 6 to 8 hours, what you require, especially if you're big in physical activity. But I sleep for 5 to 6 hours now, tops. And, and I am just like, boom, wired. And that was the first moment where I was just like, holy shit, what is this? I've never once rolled over and woke up before the alarm in my 30, because that's going 7 years, in my 33 years of existence before that. Never. Wow. And now I'm like I'm waking up, and then I'm just like, all right, it's 4:30, 5 o'clock. I'm just going to close my eyes and try to force myself back to sleep, which is a horrible idea.
Right.
So it was to the point where I was like, all right, I can't fall asleep. Like, so get up. So I get up, and the craziest part, I'm still like 275. I used to have to hang my feet off the edge of the bed like an old ass man and just let the blood rush to my feet. Right.
Right.
And then like damn near toddler walk with the furniture walk to the bathroom just to go to the bathroom in the morning. I got up out of bed, walked straight to the bathroom, went to the bathroom. And then like, after I washing my hands, I'm like, that was different. Like, that didn't hurt at all.
Yeah. I didn't think about that as much.
I didn't have to think about it at all, which was wild to me, because normally I'm like, all right, got to get up. Let's just sit here for a couple minutes, let the blood rush to my feet.
Right. Normal natural things were not natural anymore. Right.
Oh, I didn't take it for granted, especially still don't now. Like, yeah. But yeah, those were the disconnect that I had between my mind and my body was that like, all right, this is going to be a process. So with that newfound, and then like, I just, even my mood and my tone, probably from getting better rest, but also the compounds reacting to the receptors in my body, the cell receptors in my body,
Right.
it put me on a whole different level than I've ever known. Even in my best health, when I was 24, 23, I never felt this good.
Wow.
That's the craziest shit.
So that kind of answers my question. I was going to say, it seems like now you feel better than you ever probably have
In my life.
Yeah. Did CBD obviously did a lot of changes just in 2 days, and that was what,
6.5 years ago.
So did it replace medications? Did it replace,
Oh yeah.
What did it take away in a positive way from your life is what I'm getting at.
A ton of stress,
Right.
mind and body. But sleep meds, I was on sleep meds since probably college, and not like prescribed. I was on like over the counter, like, PM, Tylenol PM or whatever, generic ones that they had back in the day in college. And then when I got to the NFL, I was on Ambien, my whole career. And, and then also anti-inflammatories, the prescribed ones, those ones are brutal. I mean,
right.
They were
Everything's
good.
doing inside, right?
Yeah. And then also from time to time, especially with all the surgeries, opiates.
Right.
So, but the sleep meds were the worst. I would wake up and I felt like I didn't get any rest, and it put me in a bad mood. It's just, I don't know. But like, I started, like, I got rid of all those, and, because of CBD, and it just started a whole journey at 33 years of age of me actually caring about my health. I never cared about my health. I was like, I play football. Yeah, I knock people out. Like, this is what I do. This is what I get. All right. This is the sacrifice I made. Right. And so, but yeah, when it did a total 180 to like where I could even feel the food that I put inside. I'm telling you, it was crazy. Like, I was,
how did you go ahead?
So, I mean, it just, when I had that moment of clarity and that awakening, literally, my conversations were different. It was just, everything got better.
How do you feel like in the house, like as a husband, as a father? Because I think that's ultimately, we have careers that are very important, but really I think when we sit down at night and measure, like, how was my day? Those are some of the first things we think about. How did I treat those people? How did you find yourself being different in that role at that point?
Shit, man. I remember it was like within my first week or two of, experience this amazing change in mindset and perspective. Just, I remember hearing let's see, he was probably 2 at the time, 2.5. He was just crying. And, I got boys, and what were we always told? Hey, stop crying.
Suck it up.
Yeah. Suck it up. Like,
right.
And I didn't even know if he fell or anything. But like, I was just coming around the corner and he's just sitting there crying. And, there are people around, but like, they also, like, my wife's there, and she's used to always run up to him. And I was like, hey, like, just give him a minute to figure it out, And I caught myself like, damn, my little man's crying. I ran over to him like she used to. And until I asked her not to. I mean, she, it was hard. Right.
Yeah.
But I was like, hey, I'm trying to raise men here. Right. that's my mindset before. Right. And then, I sat there and talked with him, I mean, he barely talked, but like, and I was just telling him, hey, just breathe, buddy. And like, he calmed down really quickly. But I was just like, I took a step back and thought, like, man, I've never reacted like that.
Yeah. And personally, I find myself, because that's the quick reactions versus a response is something that I try to work on, because I can get reactionary, right? You get emotional. And
yes,
I love those moments where you handle it and you do in your own head, you're like, why did I do it that way? That was great, but where did that come from? And I think it does come from when it's not selfish to put everything you need to into this to then let it be the best thing. And that's pretty cool. I mean, naturally starting to see that where, you don't need to run and coddle, but you can run and teach. Right.
Yeah. Ooh, I like that one. Yeah. No, for real. I mean, and it stems off of other instances. Cause I mean, I remember another time where I was telling him not to run down the hill. I go, careful, man. Like, and,
Oh man.
and then he had a tumble and it looked nasty, but I was like, hey, if we weren't here, what would he do? He's going to have to figure out how to get out of this. So like,
Right.
he got up and he walked back up the hill. Yeah, he was crying, he was sobbing, but I mean, I had to let him experience it. This was time before I became awakened.
the new Lofa.
This exactly right.
Yeah.
This was
Yeah.
old school football player, toughing it out. But that was one of the crazy things that I experienced was just like being in the moment, which is why I call it zoned in. Right.
Yeah. Well, and I'll say, Jamie and I in our office, chiropractic office, selling your product it's not even, I wouldn't even call it selling it, because it's literally like the number of times I've told people, look, it's super affordable. I mean, what is it, like 40, 50 bucks, I think, retail.
49.
Yeah. And one roller will last, at least the muscle roller lasts you forever.
It lasts me a while.
Dude. And I'll tell people, I'll say, take this home. And if in 2 days you don't notice a difference, bring it back and I'll refund your money and I'll keep it and use it. And I have never had one come back ever, ever. And so it is different. It is a quality that you do notice, kind of like your story of finally trying one that was like, oh, that worked.
Yeah.
And I hear that a lot with your stuff. And I think it's a testament to not just a good business, but everything that we've talked about so far is like, how can I get the most out of my situation? And you could have happily just ran with cannabis and been profitable and done other things and used CBD. But I think go ahead.
It saved my life, man.
Dude. And that's what I wanted to get into. Cause when you said that to me, I don't know, a year ago or whatever, when we were talking, is my thought was how many people now could have been a Lofa that struggled the way that you did physically through your career. How many people could be the new Lofa at 22 versus 32 to 40, right? And how do you see yourself changing people, basically who's in your shoes 20 years, prior? How can what you're doing now change the game for these kids so that they can play 14 years and they can come out without 8 prescriptions and things like that? You know what I mean?
That's what I'm most excited about, is just that, we're just scratching the surface of what we can do. Like if I wasn't worried about getting another concussion, I would go back and try to play one more, just so I get some closure. I mean, I don't care. I don't miss the game. I miss game day. I don't miss the game though. All the practices, miss my brothers, but I would do it as a testament of what your mind and body are capable of if they're treated well. And for the longest, I abused my body and my mind, just but in the sport that I loved and played, man, it was a brutal sport. But I've done several magazines and articles where they asked me, how could the NFL benefit from it? Well, I just think about all these owners that they do care about us. There's so many of us, they can't keep a tab on all of us. And so they only hear when something bad happens, right?
Right.
But you could have, every business can relate to this. If you can have a better product, which is the players, if you can have better players, if you can have healthier players, a healthier product, and then a product that doesn't have as many problems when they walk away from the game, and actually walk away from the game, not crawl like I did. I got carried off. Off on my shield.
That's true. You did. You went out on the shield for sure. There's no doubt.
But I mean, it's just, it's made me my best me. And I think that is the purpose of us being here on in life, try to be the best version of ourselves we can be. And then also help as many people as we can. That was something that I learned from my dad, and it was wild. Right before he passed, he asked us, what's our purpose, in life? And, I was 27 and I was like, I told him, I was like, Dad, I thought you were going to teach me that. And he was just like, all right, I don't know. And, he passed a couple 2 months later after that. And, I didn't realize at the time until later, it's just, we're not here very long, just as he was gone at 54, I'm 40 now. Like, if I'm blessed to get another 14 years, I'll be grateful. Like,
For
I'm
sure.
serious about that.
Yeah.
Because you just never know. But in that short amount of time, how many people can you reach? How many people can you affect? And I think, my dad, I know he lived a life full of purpose. So he lived a full life. And when everybody gets sad, like, oh, he was so young, he lived. A lot of
For
people don't,
sure.
a lot of people don't live. They might make it to 80, but they don't live.
So speaking of 80, to go off of that, there's a book I just read, the Art of Influence, and they say that the average number of people that you will specifically influence is 80,000 in a lifetime.
Wow.
So, right. So walking by, you make eye contact with somebody. It's not neutral. It's either better or worse. Right. And how can we make even the nod to somebody? Can you smile at them instead of just looking? Right. And
Yeah.
I think that's a great point is, are you living or are you existing? Right. Are you,
Yes.
and there's a big difference. And
Huge.
I think what you've been able to do is live, I mean, honestly, fuller than you did your first 30 years.
Absolutely.
And that's what, like, to hear you even say, that's what I love about it is like, tell me what's going on and how this can help. And your first reaction is, well, we're just scratching the surface.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people like the surface would have been many layers before that you've been going through. And what do you see next? Like, is it breakthroughs in CBD and how we use it or utilize it or get it? Is there new stuff that you're getting into? I mean, what can you take this energy and again, more so like paying it back
Yeah.
to those people that basically that could do better in life earlier?
Yeah. There's three areas that I think everybody should focus on in their life, just in terms of their health, and so first is sleep must be a priority, right?
Big time.
And then, there are so many studies about sleep deprivation and, how horrible it is for your actual mental, physical well-being. So, that, and this is what CBD is given to me. It's putting everything in perspective and realize if I focus on these areas, if I zone in on these areas, I will be my best me. Right.
Right.
So sleep. And from there, when everybody wants to, when they're about to start their New Year's resolution right now, I'm going to lose 30 pounds. Okay, well, you don't need to go to the gym. You need to go to a nutritionist, and you
Right.
need to go find out. And like, I don't know if you have to go as far as getting blood work drawn. I mean, that would be taking it a step further, but
Yeah.
start just finding out what foods you should and shouldn't eat, and
Foundational levels.
I'm telling you, it doesn't matter. You could work out 3 times, 4 times a day. And if you eat like shit, you are going to still be heavy. You're going to put on pounds in unwanted areas. It's how this is me. I did this for 33 years, just whatever I wanted. And then the last 7, just slowly and steadily put a plan together. And, so again, when we go back to you, the very first thing you said, experts, I'm not an expert. I just know, I know what things have worked for me and have worked for some other people, but I always, ask people to do their own research when doing these things. And then the third thing, exercise is literally the last things. On the days that I don't exercise, I just eat better.
Yep.
That's the balance that you need to have. So sleep is number 1. You must get that. And then with 2, just figure out what foods agree with you. And then if you do that, because sleep and food, that is like 90, maybe even 95% of the battle. 5% of the battle looking good is going to the gym after that.
1,000%, man. We had, my wife helped a patient of ours maybe 4 years ago. She'd been coming in quite a bit. She was 550-ish pounds, give or take. And one day it was just kind of one of those moments where you're talking about influencing and impact. And it felt like a time that we could go a little deeper and talk about a more obvious problem versus how she was sleeping. And that was her weight, obviously. And we modified her order at McDonald's. She was going to McDonald's every day for breakfast. And all we did was tweak it so it could just be a shift, right? Because if one step is forward and you weren't taking any, you're better, right?
Yes.
She lost 30 pounds in a month.
Yeah.
And granted, there's a lot more to go, but today, 4.5 years later, she now is working out. She's eating
Hell
well
yeah.
consistently. She's 220 pounds,
Fucking A. Bravo.
320 pounds and 330 pounds. And all we did was start with a shift. And so
That's
it doesn't take a lot. If you've read Atomic Habits, that book, 1% every single day. If you put $1 in the bank and it grew 1%, you got $38 at the end of the year.
I haven't
I
read it, but
mean,
I feel like that's what happened to me with CBD was okay. So I started sleeping better. Now my mood changed. My mindset was different. Like
right.
the savage was back. Like, okay, we got this. Right.
Yeah.
From there, I told my wife, I was like, I'm not going to change shit in my diet. I'm still going to drink alcohol because I'm a human and I do stupid shit for no reason. But I am going to go to the gym every day for 30 days. And I went and I worked hard. I still ate horribly, whatever I wanted and
Right.
drank, you know, 3 or 4 times a week. Like just didn't need to, but
Did.
one of my coping stress, my old coping for stresses was eating or drinking, right? And
Right.
I think a lot of people have to figure out emotionally what's their triggers for stress eating and drinking. So
For sure.
this helped me
And
with that.
I think that brings up a good point is ultimately everything we're talking about is the fact that until your mental health is at a point where it is choosing to move forward and be better and different. And that is super hard for all of us, but especially people struggling with real issues like depression, anxiety,
Yep.
PTSD. So one encouragement just in general is talk to anybody, because if you get it outside, it will get better. It will lead to better.
Yeah.
If you're looking,
Don't
yeah,
hold it
if you're
in.
if you're looking for resources, reach out on here. There's
Yeah.
a bunch locally, a bunch nationally, and I think you essentially did that. Was until your mind is correct in terms of open to change
Yeah.
into real unplanned from here change, just like being okay, what do I need, and that's what I'm going to go to.
Yeah.
And that's a huge step that you can't go to the gym for 30 days in a row until that happens, because you don't have a mind that can
That's
stay
strong enough to
dedicated,
do it.
right?
You
It's
don't
not,
have the
you haven't
fortitude.
done the mental push-ups yet, right?
Exactly. Cause
And
that's a muscle too. And if you don't work it out, it's not
and
gonna
so I
help you.
think, and just stuff like, even journaling, like what are 3 things I felt today?
Yeah.
Just start something somewhere. And if you want an idea, like I said, reach out, because one of us will give you something. um, Life is real, and you don't need to be in an NFL career to have real problems. You don't need to be running a business.
Yeah.
You can be anybody and have real shit, because
Yeah.
it's all perspective, it's all relative.
It's in the mind, right?
And I
And
think that's what's so cool about what you guys have is it can help. I mean, it kind of sounds like a magic pill, but it in a way it is. Like it
it,
just preps the
it
body to be a better environment to do work, right? Like,
yeah. Yeah.
so
And we'll come back on another time, and maybe I'll bring one of our doctors on that can talk about the ECS, the endogenous cannabinoid system. This system
yeah,
in our bodies and mind that comprise of all these cells that work together and kind of like keeping us at homeostasis or balance and just well-being. And so,
yeah,
but everything we do, like you're saying, has an effect, right? A stressor, positive or
right.
negative, right? And so, but man, it's just I can't believe what it's. That's why I'm a messenger for it, because I can't believe I had been without this for so long, and I can't believe I'd never been this happy. Even when people
It's
thought
awesome, man.
when they thought I was on the top of the world, I wasn't happy like this. I was
Yeah,
grateful. I was grateful, but I wasn't
for
happy.
sure. Well, and again, it's when your body is ultimately sick, it's hard for your mind to be
Yeah.
healthy when your body is sick, right?
Yeah.
And vice versa. You can't get a sick body right when your mind isn't prioritizing things the right way. And I think that's a big issue too with people is, why am I doing this? And probably not even asking yourself that question to begin with.
I think you said the most important thing though, like, because I went to therapy. I try to do everything the right way when
Right.
I was struggling and everything. Um, Journaling, and for me, journaling kind of when I wasn't in my right mind, but it coincided. I only started journaling because I was taking CBD, because I was like, do I actually feel a difference?
Yeah.
And like, but that's only when I noticed the difference, was when I was going back, had the whole day. Okay, what happened today? Oh, well, we had kind of a miscommunication at work. Well, what happened? And then like, now, you see it from your perspective, from the other person's perspective, but now you're taking into account how you dealt with it and like your emotions that you went through. And then after that, I went and had a ton of food because I was stressed out. And so I was like, all right, well, that is a situation that maybe requires more breathing, a deeper talk, whatever it needs to in the moment. But I didn't get better until I started journaling.
I think it's super overlooked, and it's incredibly easy. Like I said, it can literally be, what are 2 or 3 things what's the first thing you think about? Write it down. And that can be it for the day, right? It can build from there. Reflection. We reflect on so many things with work and relationships and how we looked in an outfit and the social media posts we see, and we sit there and stew instead of just focusing on the primary target, which is up here. Yeah. Because again, nothing else matters if we're not starting from the right spot. If we're trying to hit Miami, from England on a boat, and we're 3 degrees off, we might hit Virginia Beach, which is, still cool, but like, that's not where I was trying to go. You know what I'm saying?
It's not where the destination we wanted.
Yeah. So I just appreciate you, man, as a friend, for being here and taking time with me, but also for not quitting when I'm sure there was many, many times that business wise, it felt like you shouldn't be doing this. And it's, there's things in the way. I get to personally see it. People's lives literally change in front of me. And I know you get to see it on a grander scale, but we appreciate you guys, man, for doing the work. It's been a great offer to our people. And personally, I do believe that I've experienced a lot of the same things as you, that I'm a better version of me. I'm a better dad. I'm a better husband, better everything when I'm using your stuff, because I do feel more me, the real me. So thank you, buddy.
Hey, man. Dr. Bo, love you, brother. I appreciate you. Thank you for having me. I'll be happy to come on any other time, man.
Yeah, let's do a scientific episode next time with some docs and teach people what's really going on so they get it.
Oh yeah. Dr. Rachel Knox, she's great. Hopefully she has time right now, but she's done TED Talks on it. She's done she's the real deal, man.
That's cool. So obviously people can come to our office in Gig Harbor, but let's say somebody's watching this and they want to get your stuff. How do they find it right now? What's the best way?
zoneincbd.com. Our website, e-commerce. That's the easiest way to find it. Read more. We have information on there, and even certificate analysis, so you can like check the batch and lot that your actual product came from.
That's cool.
Just trying to take it a step further, in terms of like, people are trusting us with their health. And you got to be transparent and then show what's in your product. And
for sure,
I just think I believe in doing things the right way, man. It's only one way to do things. That's the right way.
Well, it looks like it's working, dude. Proud of you. You're doing awesome.
Appreciate you, Doc.
All right, man. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Stay blessed.
Later, buddy.